Good evening. I'm Janice Coyle, founder of the New Earth Visioning Project, and our guest tonight is June Sananjaleen Hughes. Welcome, June.
Thank you.
First, let's get to know her. June Sananjaleen Hughes is an author and fun person. She is also an energy healer, offering workshops and play days in energy healing, interspecies communication, make your own flower essence, and the joyful Bulgarian dance of panurhythmy. She has also been a professional horsewoman, world traveler, photographer, and quantum touch instructor. She has 4 books on Amazon and a line of flower and mineral remedies, the Sananda Ascension Essences, from her magical garden in Virginia. As a voice for the voiceless, June Sananjaleen listens to the sound of silence and records what nature, the animals, and spirit dictate. Her forthcoming book, an expanded version of the book The Ascension of Heidi, documents the physical ascension of her dog, Heidi. This book, like the book we will discuss today, will include remarkable and insightful descriptions of the science of ascension. Her website, www.gardenofsananda.com. So that was the bio we put on our website. But I'd like for you all to listen to what she put on her website, which I really like. Quote, I live in a very small village in Northern Virginia. Sananda, my home, is dedicated as a sanctuary for light workers to connect and share, a point of balance and harmony to help the return of peace and reverence for life, particularly through awareness of the animal kingdoms and who they really are. The Garden of Sananda is a vortex, an acupuncture point for the earth, in which we observe a variety of earth healing, related gatherings, occasional animal communication, and make your own flower essence workshops, and celebrate the sacred Bulgarian dance of panurhythmy between the spring and fall equinox. There is a gnome sanctuary, a fairy ring, the Heidi Healing Center, and a labyrinth, a veggie garden with a Dotson-proof vents, and lots of crystals and flowers and butterflies, and some have seen unicorns. I was born in England, grew up in the country, and came to America in 1962 on a cargo plane full of horses. In 1967, I found the Edgar Cayce material, and one thing just led to another, and now it is time to share the teachings and understandings given me by the animals and the Cetaceans, by all of nature, and by that I am. Yes, and today we will be discussing your amazing book, Whale, Wisdom, and Dolphin Joy. But first, you had quite an amazing life. I've heard some of your stories, but not the one. What happened? How did you end up on a cargo plane with horses?
Aha. Well, in those days, it was a long time ago, and it was easier than now. But I had been working with horses in Ireland for a trainer, a very well-known trainer, and I knew that at the end of the season, some of his horses went back to their owners in different countries. So after I had left him, I wrote and asked, could he maybe get me a job in one of those countries with one of his owners? And immediately he not only arranged that, but he arranged for me to get a free flight escorting some of those horses back to America. And because I had said I didn't mind where I went, South Africa, Australia, America would do. And it turned out to be America. And on the cargo plane, I think there were about 36 horses. They take all the passenger seats out, and they have 3 horses in a row. They call them pallets. And the insurance rules say that you must have 1 attendant for each 3 horses. So I think there were about 12 of us on board, and a couple of them were regular employees, and the rest were like me or jockeys' wives or something like that.
Wow. So your connection with animals began very early in your life, didn't it?
I always adored animals, yes. And my very favorite books, for anybody who remembers, were the Dr. Dolittle books, the veterinarian who talked to his animals. And so I always longed to be able to talk to them, but I had no idea how. This was a long time ago. There were no animal communicators, no books, no nothing. And so the years went by, and finally I was in Virginia, where I am now, and I had my little long-haired dachshunds. And one day I was working in the garden, and I just suddenly had the feeling, Heidi, I think Heidi will talk to me. So Heidi was one of the long-haired dachshunds. So anyway, I went down on my hands and knees. I dragged her over the ground. I held her in my arms. I looked into her eyes, and I said, "Speak to me, Heidi. What have you got to tell me?" Well, Heidi nearly died of embarrassment. She shrunk her head down into her shoulder. She averted her eyes, and a voice in my head said, "You may have lost the moment." So chagrined, I went in the house and got a cup of coffee and came back out the back step. And the two little dogs were down on the fence line, galloping around a big circle, barking at the horses. They never did this normally, never. So anyway, the thought finally came to me that Heidi enjoys being a dog. And Heidi apparently heard me thinking this. So she broke the circle and she came and sat down a good distance from me and said, "Yes, I do enjoy being a dog." And she said, "Humans have no idea how to enjoy themselves." She said, "They're always getting up and sitting down and moving around and opening doors and shutting doors." And so it went like that.
Wow. So you communicated with your animals. And how did your connection with the dolphins begin?
Well, that was a total surprise. I was with a small group, just two or three of us, and we were all trying to learn to meditate. You know, we'd sit there with our eyes shut, and every now and again you look at your watch. I've only been here 10 minutes. And so we were all just trying, and we were working with the Course in Miracles, which we also didn't understand. But there was nice music going, and we were just sitting in silence. And then totally by surprise, I sensed, I saw in my mind, I saw the dolphins and the sharks swimming through the music. And at that time, our minds were all on the pollution of the ocean. Of course, that continues now, but it was big time at that point. And so I said, "But you look happy." And so then I would hear their voices back. They said, "Yes, we are happy." And that's how it started, just a small little transmission. And then a month later, because people knew I had had this, it was at the time when some whales were trapped in the ice, and the Russian icebreakers came to set them free. And so somebody asked me to ask them what was going on. And again, I got a beautiful transmission from that. And things just progressed from there. They would come when I asked, or when I particularly set my mind to a meditation to talk with them. And I would play music, ocean music, with dolphin sounds, whale sounds.
And how did they come to you? It was thought? It was your words? How was it?
In my mind, I would see them. In my mind, I would see them. And yes, I would say there were words. There were words, and I did. Let me just say what I wrote back. Sometimes the words came flowing very fast, and almost faster than I could write them down. But at other times, they were what I would call feeling tones, and it was harder. I would have to find words from them. And if I was in a very deep meditation, and sometimes the words were not flowing, I would find I was sort of doing this to try and get the motion of the words going. And different people will hear or experience in different ways. Because in one of our animal communication play days, one woman was an artist, and she really wasn't a writer. And it was very difficult for her to put things in words, because she would get her answers. She would see flowing colors all around her, just flowing colors. And I say this to show some people it'll be difficult for them to just get flowing words. It may come to them in another way. And you may just get an image and have to put your own understanding or words to it.
Well, thank you. That's interesting. I'll try that. Doing this, maybe. That day, you wrote about it, and they gave you a message at some point, which I'll read. I just love it. And you said, "You look happy," and they answered, "We are happy. We have come to swim through the music, this beautiful music that sweeps and flows through our bodies. For we are the sharks and dolphins from the world of the spirit that loved this planet Earth, who loved our ocean homes, who loved the sweet sunlight and the magic of the moon. We are the dolphins, and we wish to wave our essence over the ocean waves in peace and gratitude for all that was given to us. We are the sharks and dolphins who live glorious lives of rhythm and poetry, and we wish the oceans to know that we remember them with love, that their essence is with us in spirit. We wish them to know that one day they will be pure and sweet and clear and buoyant again, that they will sustain all life that comes to them for the fulfillment of their earthly sojourn. Tell the oceans that we love them, that music is the channel. They will understand. We are the dolphins and sharks of yesteryear." There are so many questions I have for you on this one. First of all, what did they mean when they say to the oceans, music is the channel?
I had no idea. I just assumed that that message was for the oceans. And as they said, the oceans would understand. And in thinking about it now, which I really didn't think about it then, and thinking about it now, we know everything is vibration and frequency. And I can only suppose that different music, of course, has different frequencies, different vibrations, and that the oceans would feel the love and the caring through this particular frequency of music.
And I'm really impressed by the fact that they tell you to speak to the oceans. And so the oceans can understand what we feel and speak. And all
Yes,
of this.
yes. And as time went by, I did a couple of times receive a message from the ocean herself. And so you ask about how I hear. The voice in my head will take on different tones. I really didn't think about it when the whales and the dolphins speak, but when others, I'll hear the voice differently. I'll hear when the ocean spoke, it was a very, very gentle, loving, rhythmic tone. I just knew it wasn't the whales and the dolphins, it was something else. And so they will have different intonations depending who's speaking. And I say speaking, some people call it receiving telepathically, but sometimes it's really more like a direct download, it's more like a direct inner knowing. And one time the dolphins were showing me, they taught their little ones by a process of osmosis. The babies just knew. And I think maybe that's where we should think about going, just know everything by osmosis.
Yeah, or just feeling each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just goes to show you that everything has consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah. And the dolphins seem to be speaking to you from another dimension. And I just wondered how you feel. How did this, their vibration, their sense, how did it make you feel?
Well, yes, certainly they're in another dimension. I mean, they're not physically there in the room with me. So yes, it's another dimension. I don't know. I think really I'm just so focused on listening. I'm so focused on listening and hearing that I don't really think or feel about other things.
Okay. And you, in your book, your title is Wisdom and Dolphin Joy. Does this refer to their missions or their character? What does that refer to?
Well, definitely all through their messages, the theme is the dolphins are the joy bringers and the whales are the wisdom keepers. They continually give this message. And so those words, the title just came. I didn't have to think about it.
Uh-huh. So the dolphins are all about bringing joy.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and the whales are the wisdom keepers. Is that
Yes.
their mission?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. I was trying to yeah, no, just exactly what you said. The dolphins are the joy givers and the whales are the wisdom keepers. And for other things they do, they are constantly telling me things like they are relay stations, they're transmitters, they're way stations for energy, vibration, and consciousness. For example, the dolphins, they would explain that they were in touch with, and sometimes they showed me images, they're in touch with starships and or maybe their home planet, or I don't think they have a home planet, but it would be a planet they come through, like a way station, because a lot of people associate Sirius with the dolphins. And I think these can be way stations that they just pass through and use as a base. But what was I going to say? So they're reflecting back conditions on planet Earth to the places where they're reflecting conditions, and the way we treat the Earth reflects our condition. So that's what they mean about being relay stations and transmitters.
And their mission seemed to be to help planet Earth evolve, I guess you could say.
Oh, yes. I did have this thing about the dolphins are programmed to assist in the awakening of the life streams on this planet. They have come with a purpose to raise the evolution of the planet they inhabit. And they are masters of bioengineering. They are masters at manipulation of the very cells of your being. They speak to your cells, they awaken them, they can change them in that they can divert or redirect energies, influence the energies, which can alter the very structure of the physical body at a cellular level. Because I'm sure most people have heard stories of people in the ocean receiving healings from dolphins.
Yes.
And I can think of one woman in particular who I met. She had everything you can imagine wrong with her. I know she had all these pills. I can't remember everything. And she had heard that in Israel, they have dolphins in the Red Sea, the dolphins of Eilat. And she had heard that they were healing dolphins. So she booked a session and she went from Germany or Holland, I forget which. She went to Eilat and she arrived, I think, 8 o'clock in the morning, and they didn't open till 9 or something like that. And so she explained to the keepers and so on and so forth. Anyway, they let her in. They let her in for a special private session, as far as I can remember this. And she said she went in the water and the dolphins, maybe 4 or 5 of them, surrounded her. They simply surrounded her. She's standing there in the water and they all just did their thing. And she went back to her hotel room and she went to sleep, and when she woke up, she flushed all her tablets and pills down the toilet.
Wow.
And she was 100% A-OK. And the doctors had given her no hope.
Wow.
But other people have simpler things. You know, the dolphins will touch them and heal a tumor or something. Or alternatively, sometimes the dolphins touch them and make them aware, and then they go and have an X-ray and find something they need to take care of. So they are masters of bioengineering.
Wow. We have so much help out there we don't even know about. They could be like our doctors, you know?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, there's a lot too about underwater, birthing babies underwater with the dolphins. Have you heard about that?
No.
Oh, there's a Russian called Igor Tchaikovsky. And even before I left England, I had seen videos of him in the Black Sea. The Black Sea, mothers would go to have their babies underwater with the dolphins. the dolphins would be midwives. You can Google about this.
Okay, yeah.
Dolphins birthing babies underwater.
Well, speaking of under the water, after this, I understand that after these communications began, and after a while, you went to the Bahamas, was it, to actually
Yes, the
swim with the
Bahamas.
dolphins? Tell us
Yes.
about that.
Well, that was very exciting. We were out on a boat called the Bottom Time, and we were out on the ocean for a whole week. And of course, it was gorgeous. Mind you, out of the generators go in the daytime, but they turn them off at night. So it was just incredible. And these were the bottlenose dolphins. And I forget how many of them us were there, maybe about 12. And so the thing is, somebody is always on the lookout for when the dolphins are coming. It's their choice when they come. And when the cry goes up, the dolphins are coming, the dolphins are coming. There's a mad scramble to get your flippers on and jump in the water. and your goggles, your flippers and your goggles. So some people are fantastic swimmers and they dive down deep under the water with the dolphins. I can't do that. I'm lucky I can just snorkel. But anyway, we had been told that if you lie face down on the water and do sort of little circles, the dolphins will imitate you and do this underneath you. So anyway, all week long this had been going on, and I wasn't doing terribly well at it, but it was just incredibly wonderful having the dolphins there. And the last day we were there, a group of about 25 dolphins came. And I was up on the deck with the captain and the crew because I got salt water in my eyes. But I was totally happy and at peace with all this, just watching. It was incredible. 25 dolphins. And usually they only stayed for about 20 minutes. And then they would go. And what they try to do is they try to get you to follow them. We were always being told, don't follow them, because they will lead you away from the boat. And yeah, they do. And so anyway, everybody came back on the boat this last day. And so everybody had done their thing and they're all talking about it excitedly. I'm still looking at the water, and they're just beginning to start the generators up to move on again. And at the back of the boat, I saw these 5 huge dolphins swimming towards us. Huge. So I'm all by myself. Nobody knows I'm doing this. I'm not a good swimmer. I put on my flippers, jump in the water with them. So anyway, I was lucky the boat didn't take off. But anyway, so I did this thing about lying face down in the water and just gently making circles. And underneath me, these 2 giant dolphins did the same. Just giant dolphins underneath me. And when I got back on the boat, I just happened to hear the tour leader say, the Melchizedek dolphins have visited us. And I was the only person who saw them, and I knew it was them. And don't ask me what it means, because I don't know. But again, it was a certain vibration, a very high vibration of the dolphins. So that was my big excitement. Oh, and I do think that after that, I didn't realize it at the time, but they had evidently activated some codings, because after that, the way I received from the dolphins in my meditations changed completely. Prior to that, they had come as dolphins in my mind, and I had been a dolphin, and they had taken me on journeys. After that, it was more like master teachers coming to me, and I was just taking dictation from these master teachers. So it did change completely the way I received them.
Wow. Well, we're going to get into some of their teachings now. Well, I'll have to go and swim with the dolphins sometime. See how experience could be with me. I feel a connection with them now, and so I think that would be a good thing, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Gotta-
The Bahamas, the water is very clear and comparatively shallow and very warm.
And they're there, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
The bottlenose.
Well, I think it's time to look into what they have said. And we're going to go through this book. It's incredible, this incredible book. Wisdom Dolphin Joy, Ascension Teachings from the Cetaceans. Ascension Teaching, and they do go into that. And all you have to do is just look at some of the chapter or the transmission titles. For example, Living Your Own Dream. The dolphins and the great whales speak on forgiveness. Interspecies communication. Codings and the cosmic dolphins. Dolphins and the light waves. The dolphins' song of ascension. The dolphins speak on enlightenment. Manatees and star children. Dolphins speak on cosmic purpose, cosmic peace. The whale elders. The dolphins speak on sacred geometries. The dolphin's consciousness dictates reality. Wow. Whales and archangels on non-attachment. Dolphins on the changing nature of time. Crop circles and circle makers. And so those are just a few of the 67 transmissions in this book. And it's almost a download overload type of a thing. They are so deep and so profound in their wisdom and spirituality and expanded consciousness. I can't, this book blows my mind. It really does. So, but I'll ask you, Sananjaleen, what are your things that stand out to you in this book?
Well, I have to say, when I do reread them, they blow my mind too.
Yeah.
Well, I've just picked out a couple of quotes that I really like. Mm-hmm. And this one is from the Dolphins. The silence of a heart at peace is the sound of joy. For joy is indication that your soul is in alignment and singing through your feeling tones.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
And then a couple of others. They do, both the dolphins and the whales do talk a lot about forgiveness. Mm. And this is the dolphins and the whales speaking together. They say, all things at this moment revolve around the point of forgiveness. And it is on the point of forgiveness that the ascension wave shall break. Mm. And then the whales, because I will say 2 wrongs don't make a right. And of course, we want to do all we can for the ocean and the whales. But from their perspective, they say, the whales do not fight to defend their right to live and ask that none fight for them. They ask only that reverence for life be awakened in all hearts. Mm. And I have that line at the bottom of my little signature on my emails, reverence for life. And that was the line from Albert Schweitzer. He was big into reverence for all life. And also they say in regards to this, pray for the minds of those who have betrayed a sacred trust given to humanity by creation to honor life and know that all is one. And along the same lines, when we think of non-happy things, they say, for darkness is the light unborn.
Mm. Darkness is the light unborn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for those of us, me included, who used to have trouble letting go of things, they say, clinging to old grudges and reliving your pain is simply dividing your energies into wishes and wants and what might have beens. That's a waste of time. Mm-hmm. So then we jump to, this is in regards to what we might call the sleepyheads, and people thinking they have all the time they need. And they're pointing out that we don't have all the time we think we have. So they say, and this is the dolphins in a transmission called Vortex of Time. They say structures are falling, and time is a man-made structure, a convenience, and time is collapsing inward upon itself. And the vortex that it creates is the accelerator which intensifies the speed of all particles that serve to hold your world in form. Which for me, we all seem to know time is speeding up, but for me that sort of explained how and why.
Wow.
And then this is from the whales. They talking about non-attachment, because non-attachment we tend to think of as letting go of material things, but they have a slightly different perspective. They say non-attachment is a releasing, a freeing of your frequency, an opening to the vastness of solar reality. Non-attachment is the expansion of form. As long as you reach a certain level, a certain grade, a certain frequency, you will be free. You will graduate. You will ascend. And the ultimate ascension is non-attachment to form. And so for that, because I'm often having to help people who've lost an animal and to help them live with their grief. So if we can just remember, we have to let go of the non-attachment to form.
And this could apply to family members or anyone.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
We're connected anyway, despite form. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is another quote I love from the Cosmic Dolphins. We are the living lights of sound in form, sacred geometry in motion, motion being the movement of the matrix, the structure, the warp and weave of universal presence.
You know, I'm into science, as a lot of people know, and quantum mechanics and all that. And this book has been such a mind blower because so are they. They are into this kind of study and wisdom and knowledge, and they talk about the cells and what happens there, and all kinds of what we would call quantum mechanics. In fact, the whales particularly seem to be experts in that.
Yeah, I probably hadn't even heard the word quantum mechanics when this came.
Yeah.
But anyway, as a PS, they add the apparent nothingness of all that is moves and becomes the sacred geometry through which life expresses.
Amazing.
And one last one, because you did mention the manatees. So anyway, I was not expecting the manatees. Well, I love the manatees. The manatees say, establish within your mind that we are ships of light, shape shifters of the future, form busters from the past, from a different galaxy, far, far away, of course, from the starlight. So to recap, that's what they tell me. The dolphins are the joy bringers, the whales are the wisdom keepers, the manatees hold the frequency of future probabilities. Whoa. And then there are the great squids, but we'll deal with the great squids later.
Another time. The manatees sound like ETs or something.
No. And it amuses them, the form they chose to come in, you know?
Uh-huh. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Sananjaleen, for writing such a book. And they are in such high vibration too. They really are, and I know from their words, and you are too, to be connected with them. But they are extremely high in their vibrations. I know when I read, I'll read like one transmission, before going to bed, and I sleep better. It's just a higher state I get into. What a gift they are to us and the earth. What an incredible gift. And I have some favorites. If you're finished, you're
yes.
done. There are a couple of chapters that, not chapters, transmissions that really struck me, and I read them over and over. And these so much pertain to what we're going through now, and some of us that are trying to help help along a new way of living and a new earth and a new vibration. And the first one is transmission 16, which is titled The Dolphins' Song of Ascension. And you, Sananjaleen, wrote, "And I call now to the dolphin ones and ask you, sing your song for me. I ask you to express as a point of creations words that I may share with others at this time." And they answered, "It is a change of," oh, and you go ahead and to say, "I feel a lightness in my being as though I am above myself." And ask the dolphins, "What is this buoyancy I feel?" And the dolphins answered you and said, quote, "It is a change of frequency, a change in vibration, the upliftment of the lightness in your heart. It is a recognition of a frequency, a heart song, you may term it, an honoring of one another. And for a moment you touch upon the frequency of joy and motion, which is the frequency to which we dance, to which we resonate. Thus have we said so many times before, to tune into the dolphin energy is to tune into joy. And for a moment you captured the essence of our frequency within your cells." I'll stop here. This is so interesting to me because in looking at the science of emotions with David, excuse me, they calibrate the emotions, and the emotion of joy is even higher than love. And I think they're referring to a spiritual bliss type of a sensation. Do you think that, essentially?
Yes, I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. The frequency of joy. I think in the Abraham books, they probably do list that as the highest frequency.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I really hadn't thought of that before. That's very nice.
Yeah. David Hawkins in his book Power Verse
Yes,
puts it over
yes.
over love even. And to continue with what the transmission, what is the message? The message, dear one, is upliftment. We encourage you to do all you can, whatever you can, to lighten the physical vehicle. Not only in the foods you eat and the music you play, the books you read, and the conversations that you heed, the movies, the videos, all things that touch your physical senses. We encourage you to be an uplifting nature. And they go on later to say, your willingness to dance will set you free. Free as the ocean waves themselves, free as the drifting clouds. A freedom shall be yours you have not known for oh so long, if you will but sing the song of upliftment. That is so beautiful and gives us so much hope. So the dolphins are all about the very high vibration of joy, to put it out there for us. And really, their physical form, their face, they always look like they're smiling. And they really do. I mean, that's interesting too.
Mhm.
I named our website "The Awaken to Joy," and because it's the highest vibration, and I'll have to do it. Maybe I'll put a dolphin up there because
Oh,
they're all
yes.
smiling. A picture.
Yeah.
You must have, Sananjaleen, felt so loved and caressed by them. I mean, this is how they speak. Did you come away just feeling in bliss?
Well, yes, in that particular one, and I don't think I've ever been able to recapture that incredible lightness that I felt, but a lot of times I do feel the love.
Mhm.
And even this morning, when I was calling, just standing looking out the window, calling for the whales and the dolphins, I think I called for the dolphins first, and and then I called for the whales, and then just suddenly I'm just overcome by an emotion of love. Like you want to burst into tears,
Mhm.
you have to gasp, and I often do have that feeling from them.
Yeah, they're nothing if not incredibly loving, and even the way they speak, the way they put
Mhm.
words together, is so eloquent, and even kind of poetic, but always so loving.
And
And you,
like you said, well, and also like you mentioned, because these were given, I can't do the maths, was it 20 years ago, 25 years ago, some of them. As you say, they're so appropriate for today.
Yes. Yes.
They were appropriate then, but very much so for today.
And this book was written...
Which seems to indicate we haven't changed much.
No, when was this book written?
Well, they came over a period of many years.
Okay.
See, I have taken the dates out of the book, but I think the first ones came in 92.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And
well, that's interesting now, because I'm going to go forward and talk about and read from their cosmic purpose, which is really interesting, and really has a relevancy today for this time we're in. And this is transmission 30, Dolphins Speak on Cosmic Purpose. And you begin by saying, Sananjaleen, vast images of dolphin shapes pass through my mind. And they say, quote, we would speak to you of purpose. We speak of the divine or cosmic purpose in which you come with such high hopes and glorious open heart, to share with those on earth your vision of solar unity, drawn together by the cosmic purpose of a race of God beings. And what do we mean by a race of God beings? We mean the I am presence, the essence of your true being, manifested through an atomic structure in the world of form. A world that manifested with a cosmic purpose of transmuting matter through spiritualization. I'm going to stop here. Transmuting matter through spiritualization. It came into my head one morning, and I wrote it down. It said something about the heroic mission of becoming embodied joy. And this sounds like that. The spiritualization of matter itself and the use of joy just goes along with what they said. This just immediately struck to me. I thought, you guys and you must have spoken to me just in different words, or I got different words for this. Anyway, they're incredible. They go on to say, and this cosmic purpose rang through the heavens in what you term outer space, and filled all hearts with joy untold at the magnificence of this project. But it was harder, far, far harder than any of these individualized God presences had realized. But never did they regret or seek to dissolve their resolution. And it was not a battle cry that brought forth reinforcements from the realms untold. Not even was it termed a cry for help. It was the purity and the radiance. I lost my place. It was the purity and the radiance and the longing that shone forth from this planet Earth that touched the hearts and bade all ones who could unite and bring our own uncluttered and oft-times invisible assistance. The cosmic purpose now rings loud and true through the hearts and minds of those who pledge allegiance to this wondrous task of empowering and expanding the realms of heaven itself. I'll stop. So this is what we light workers are about. I read this over and over and over, and get this book and just read it over and over, and you'll see what your mission is. It just gave me, when I read this, and I've read it over and over and over, just such a reverence, I guess you would say, for all of us that are spiritual seekers and want to help the world and bring in a vision that we know we can be and have. So this really touched me. And they go on to say, we pledge with you our hearts into this cause, and victory we see is now at hand. So many, I'll stop again, so many spiritual people that have this intuition despite what we see out there in the world, are saying, this is at hand now. This is our time. And it is coming, and it's close. Back to them. And joy is ours to know that we may now be clearly heard and seen for what we truly are, your brothers and your sisters, in a form that varies from your own, for reasons joyous when these decisions were made. And here they say it again, the Dolphins, their mission. We are the joy makers, the joy bringers, the uplifters of heart. We assist in raising your consciousness, in elevating your thinking minds to dwell on higher realms. More than this, our bodies have not become cluttered and with so-called karmic debris like your own. We open our hearts and call to you to use us as a stepping stone, a helping hand, an inspiration to climb higher and even higher in your return journey. I'll stop. They have already done that for me, and I think the more I read this, the more they're going to be doing this for me. This is just a beautiful mission of theirs. For each and everything you do and say and think is overshadowed by the greater cosmic purpose we believe and trust that you will honor and observe, expanding and projecting through your every conscious move you make, the highest good of all. We are those cosmic dolphin teachers you thought you left behind. Not so, dear ones. We come with you. We come with you all the way. So, I mean, the animal kingdom, the planet kingdom, we have such incredible help. And we can just need to open our consciousness and use this and see it, ask for help, and because we're all in this together. We really are all in this together. And it's happening. As they will say in this next one, called Transmission 31, the Dolphins Speak on Cosmic Peace. So, Sananjaleen, you mentioned in this at the beginning of this that you were meditating on the I am, you're in breathing and absorbing, and suddenly you got it. I'm a point of focus for cosmic peace here on Earth, right? You're a focus for cosmic peace.
Oh, yes.
And we all are, those who really
Yes.
want to be our light workers here.
By intent.
By intent.
Yes.
Right. Coming in with it or discovering it. Yeah.
Yes. Because while you're on the subject of peace, way back, this was back in the late 80s, middle 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you were, people were forever talking about your goals. You have to have goals.
Yeah.
I didn't have any goals, and this bothered me greatly. You know, I don't know, everybody, what are your goals? Well, I don't have any goals. And so all this was very difficult. Since suddenly, looking out of the window one day, I had moved to where I am now, and there was nothing in the garden when I arrived, nothing at all. The birds didn't fly over it, which I later heard because the previous occupant had shot them. So anyway, now the garden is full of birds and crystals and flowers and everything else. But anyway, I was looking out of the window and I suddenly realized what my goal was. My goal is peace. And so I made that my intent, that the garden, Sananda, would be a place of peace for light workers to come and restore and so on and so forth. And so you can make that your intent, your goal. To be a channel for peace, to be an outlet for peace, to be a focus. An anchor is, I use the word anchor nowadays. I'm an anchor for peace.
Yeah. Yes, and what a mission and what a honorable intent. And so we need that.
And we can call upon the spirit of peace.
Yes.
Invite the spirit of peace to flow through you.
Mm-hmm. And it just occurred to me, we need to be at peace for our vibrations to become higher.
And mentioning the spirit of peace, about that time, I was aware that the great race. I called it the spirit of peace or the spirit of beauty or the spirit of wisdom. Now I think of it more as the great rays, but the spirit of peace anchored in the garden in an area I called the fairy ring, and each one of them would give me a poem, a verse, about a page long. But I'll just quote you one line for it, because you know how people call for the return of peace. And the spirit of peace said that it had never left. It merely hid itself in beauty, which is where it could not be found or vandalized by those who did not know of peace. And this is why we feel such peace when we walk in a garden or in the woods or by a river, because peace is embedded in every piece of nature you see around you.
Regardless of what's happening around the world.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Well, nature is such a grace that we have for us. I mean, I know when I walk in the woods, I'm uplifted. I forget about everything.
Yes.
Just the peacefulness. Yeah, the dolphins go ahead and go forward and say, and you talk about your focus is for cosmic peace. As is each, they say, everyone is a point for this cosmic peace. Everyone throughout the planet has this essence within them, the capability of being, maintaining, and projecting the peace of the kingdom. Then they go on to say, you speak of islands of light. We would call them points of light in our group, but islands of light. And when shall this be? You cry to one. When shall this be? When the islands of light become continents. It shall be, they say, when you, the ones who carry the seeds, allow them to germinate, as the earth herself regulates the sprouting of the seeds she bears within her breast. And they go on to say, and so it is with you. We may shower you with light. We may feed you with love. But the seed field is within yourselves. And as you come to terms with your emotions and your mental turmoils, so shall the seeds of peace within rise up and unite with those around, and create this Garden of Eden of which you hear so much. And the seeds are sprouting in many places. We would shield you from the winds of woe. We would shield you from the acid rains. But we cannot touch you until you reach into our realms and behold the manifestations, the results of what this peace can do. In our group, with envisioning a new earth and a new place, I know that we're all thinking about what this peace can do. But I would suggest maybe we think the peace is already now. It can be already now. And I think this is what Sananjaleen has said, and this is what I see and what they're saying too. It's already present. It is the essence. They go ahead. It is the essence of you. So that's a beautiful transmission. And they talk often about keeping your vibrations high, and that's a path to do, and there are a number of things that we all are doing, at least in our group, to help the vibrations be high. So, Sananjaleen, you must have been in a kind of a high vibrations to come into contact with them at all. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and also, what do you do to keep your vibrations high now?
Well, I am lucky that I live alone and have a big garden around me and sort of more or less out in the country, and I can look through the window and see all the birds and the horses in the neighboring field. So that helps a great deal. But but in the past, most certainly things happen to upset you. It might be something you saw, it might be something you heard, it might be something you said that you can't get out of the mind, you know, the endless rerun. So in my case, it would most definitely help to, if you can go for a walk or go out in nature and do something in the garden, or oh, if you can't do that, play music. I do. I still sort of tell myself, oh, I have to change the energy of this. So if you put on music, for some it might be sort of bouncy music to jump around. For somebody else, it might be soothing music, and it would depend on what it was. And occasionally, sometimes I might take one of my own flower essences, which are half mineral and half flower essences, or I also use the essential oils. And so, and then it gets easier to get back into your peace of mind.
Thank you. I go to music too, and definitely nature. So many people that I've talked to, the first thing they mention is nature. And I know you're all about that. And so.
And the other thing is to have a favorite book, whether it's a little book of quotes or some kind of a spiritual book. And I think it's really helpful to read at least a paragraph or sentence or something of that as soon as you can, early in the morning, to set the tone for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to use whichever of my essential oils jump out at me, or again, the flower essence. So you're setting the tone for the day before things get started.
Mm-hmm.
And again, last thing at night.
Yes, yes, yes.
You don't want to be listening to the news last thing at night.
No. No. Well, those are our favorite, things that stuck out for each of us. I'd like to ask you something, Sananjaleen, that I'm curious about. Do you still have connection with the dolphins and whales?
Not on a regular basis, because what I was doing then, it was for a specific purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I was checking in once a month to get a message for a small newsletter. They had written to me and asked me if I would do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I received the last message, I didn't even know it was the last message at the time, but it just seemed to fulfill a purpose for a certain time period.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they would be there if I really called for them. But as time went by, I would wonder why. I think I can no longer do this. I can't do it anymore. Why can't I do it anymore? But looking back on it, it had served a purpose. And also, there comes a time for all of us when we have to go within and get it directly, get direct transmission for ourselves. You can call it the I am presence. You can call it. A lot of times I call upon all creation. Sometimes I call upon all creation to appoint a spokesman. But then I came across, before doing this, I came across a quote, which I couldn't find again. It was just 2 or 3 lines. But what the whales and the dolphins said was regarding not hearing regularly from them anymore. They said, even the whales and the dolphins must step aside when the divine director wishes to come through.
Yes.
So whether I liked it or not, because it was such fun. But again, you see, it's a form of attachment. Mm-hmm. The whales say this and the dolphins say that. Mm-hmm. And it was same with my little dogs. I was always quoting, Lorna says this, Lorelei says that. And even when Lorelei was in spirit, she entertained us. She was a little dachshund. She entertained us vastly on her antics and showing us things. And this became, sort of point of focus. What's Lorelei doing now? What did Lorelei say today? So finally they, whoever they are, sent Lorelei to another universe. And that was that.
You're getting too dependent on her.
Yes.
Wow. And have we spoken yet of the manatees?
Oh, I did give that little tiny quote, which, but if you missed it, the manatees say, establish within your mind that we are ships of light, shape-shifters of the future, form busters from the past, from a different galaxy far, far away.
Yes, and they're the ETs. And what is their mission?
Well, they hold the format of future probabilities.
That's right, you said that.
And the reason the manatees came to mind was somebody came to my house, somebody I had never met before. We
Uh-huh.
were having a little earth healing group. And she said, when it was over, she said, I have to tell you all the way here, the manatees were in my head telling me that you have to connect with them.
Mm.
So, and I think the manatee message was in this little book, the first little book.
Dolphin ones. Yes,
Yes,
that's your first book about dolphins, and it preceded
yes,
this one, right?
that's the follow-up.
And the dolphin ones, if anything, goes even deeper into spirituality. I mean, I don't know. You can't compare. They're so amazing. But the two books, I think, go together, and one follows the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Oh my goodness. This has been just a taste of a little bit of what is you will be reading in Sananjaleen's book, Will, Wisdom, and Dolphin Joy. And we quoted a little bit from her book, The Dolphin Ones. And there it is, Dolphin Ones. But there are other books that Sananjaleen has written, other remarkable books. And the one I'd like to talk about right now is the Ascension, called The Ascension of Heidi. It's a book about the physical ascension of her little Dachshund dog. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, Heidi was a long-haired dachshund, and I had her mother Gretel before her. And after her, I had 8 more little long-haired dachshunds. They came to me as retirees from the show ring, so they were sort of little rescues. But anyway, Heidi was especially special. She was gorgeous. She was beautiful. She was a deep mahogany color. And she, back in those days, I think this was the late 80s, there was a tape going around. We all used to listen to these cassette tapes, and they would talk about, there was a set of 5, and they got us all very, very excited. They were sort of talking about how we could expect to go. And if we listened to them, we'd be up all night packing, ready to go the next morning. So, of course, eventually we understood that ascension is a process. It doesn't just happen poof like that. But with Heidi, it did happen poof like that. And after listening to these tapes, I knew, I had an inner knowing that Heidi was going to do this, that she would, when time came for her to leave this earth plane, she would take her body with her. But I didn't know how she would do it. And I assumed, because she slept in bed with me, I assumed I would wake up one morning and find her gone. Well, it didn't happen like that at all. And this went on for a 2-year period. So I sort of lost my high, and I sort of not exactly forgot about it, but I certainly wasn't thinking about it. So what happened, we had a very, very icy winter. It was terribly icy. And then we had a very light snowfall, so you could see footprints. So at 10 o'clock at night, when we were usually all in bed, Heidi woke up, and she was so excited. And I have to add that all week she had been excited, and I didn't know why. She was 16 years old, but she was in fabulous shape. And I just didn't know why she was so excited. So I said, okay, Heidi, okay. And I figured she heard about bunny rabbit passing outside. So all the 3 little dachshunds ran outside. And the 2 little ones came back in pretty quickly because it was very cold. Heidi didn't come back. And I knew that I would never see her again. I knew she had gone. But we are programmed to look. So I put on all my clothes, my boots, my hat, my gloves, and walked around the garden. It was moonlight. And I walked twice around the garden, and nowhere did footprints leave the garden. And I kept coming to this one place by a big crystal by the well where the footprints just stopped. They just stopped. And I would look at them and think, that's funny. Those footprints just stopped. Well, I'll deal with those in the morning. I have to look for Heidi now. And so anyway, next morning, friends came over, and Kim was sitting at the table with me, and I said, where's Jim? And she said, oh, Jim's outside looking for Heidi. I said, well, she's not going to find her. So Jim came in, and he said exactly what I had thought, there's some footprints out there that don't go anywhere. So that sort of anchored it into my reality. And after they went, I looked through my bedroom window, and although I see things sometimes with my eyes shut, I don't normally see things with my eyes open. And I was looking through my bedroom window towards that spot where the footprints were. And in my mind, I said, how'd you do that, Heidi? And immediately I saw Heidi standing in the snow with a little beam of light around her. It was just a little beam of light, just her size, and it went up probably about 3 feet above her. And I guess you could call it her own private Merkaba or ascension chamber or whatever. And as the year went on, I kept having more questions, like what really happened, or what did she feel? What did the other dogs feel? So in a deep, deep meditation, I would receive answers on what had happened. And sometimes I was given the feeling. And so I kept a journal. So the little booklet that I have of her is really the account over the next year of my understanding of how she did it and what happened.
And it's an incredible book. You're working on an expanded version now, expanded edition, a new edition, which will be available, I understand, in paperback on Amazon and on Kindle. Is that correct? Yes. And I was able to see the draft, the initial draft, and I can't wait to see the rest of it, because some of Sananjaleen's research on ascension and her quotes on it and her own understanding of ascension has been the best descriptions of ascension I have ever read. I can't wait for you guys to read this expanded version. And when is it going to be published, by the way?
As soon as I can get back to finishing it. I do have to wait on a couple of people to get, confirmation that I can use their quotes. Mm-hmm. One of them being from Hay House, and they said that would take 6 weeks. Which is, but anyway, I want to get on with that. And then I have a graphic artist do the layout and load it up onto Amazon. And then we get a proof, and then we're ready to go.
Well, when you
but the fun part of it is, because it is on Kindle at the moment, mm-hmm. and the fun part of it is when people write in, and 1 or 2 people have mentioned, now I know what happened to my dog.
Yeah. Oh.
And one young man who was sitting beside me heard me tell the story, and he said, he was bouncing up and down with excitement. He said, so if they disappear, they could appear, couldn't they? And he had an amazing story of how he and his wife had been in a cabin in the woods all winter. They were snowed in, and they came down the kitchen one morning, and there was a little kitten in the kitchen.
And this book, guys, explains how this can happen. And the expanded one goes even further into that. I can't wait to read it. It's going to be an incredible book. It already is, but wow. Your life with animals has been really amazing. Amazing. You're quite an author, but you're into even more things. Tell us about your flower essences.
The flower essences, another thing that took me by total surprise. I knew nothing about flower essences. Well, I'd heard the name, and I had heard of Bach flower remedies. And for those of you who are not familiar with flower essences, they come under the heading of vibrational remedies. They're just a little minor, in a little half-ounce bottle of water. They have a teeny weeny bit of brandy in them to stop little green things growing. But otherwise, they just have water and whatever that particular flower is. And these essences have different qualities. And again, I didn't have to learn anything. I didn't know anything. I would just be walking around the garden in the morning, passing a flower that had probably bloomed for the first time that season, so it was in its power. And I would hear a key phrase. Mm-hmm. A key phrase, like, for example, when it was the Midland rose, the phrase I heard was the red, red rose of true love. Mm-hmm. So I would say, don't move, stay where you are. And I'd run back up the house and get my pencil paper and come back and get the rest of the definition. which in this case was for trust that we are truly loved and supported by the universe. And it was a 3-year period, but I was given the definitions to make 32 different flower, and some of them actually are mineral essences like fluorite or danbarite, moldavite, and 3 of them actually are from trees: the pine tree bark and the maple, the silver maple bark, and the pine root. So the way you make these things, and I very much enjoy giving what I call play days in the spring, as soon as the weather's nice. And we usually just have a small group, maybe half a dozen people, and I explain how you do it, and people go around the garden. You declare your intent, what you want an essence for, and the nature spirits and the flowers will make themselves known to you, and then I teach you how to make them, and we really have a fun day. But anyway, for example, what some of my essences are for, a couple of examples of what mine are for. Lapis lazuli, for example, that's a mineral. It's to support all in a leader, teacher, visionary, or guardianship role. For all who are physically or symbolically playing the part of father, mentor, or counselor. Gives assistance in presenting new options to others. A gift from Lake Baikal, which to the Russian people symbolizes heart energy and connection to the fatherland. I had a young friend in Russia who had sent me that particular mineral. Mm-hmm. And all yes, I sort of liken it to a knife, a fork, and a spoon. You can use any of those to eat your ice cream with, but a spoon might be better. So the flower essences are a bit like that. They can really all overlap because the bottom quality of all of them is for love and for joy. I've heard people say, anytime you want more joy, just take one of the flower essences. And one of my favorites is Easter lily, which is for joy and clarity of intent, enthusiasms and new beginnings. Supports the transformation of ourselves to a higher frequency, the essence of purity, celebration. Easter lily resonates with the resurrection flame. And then one more I'll read. Peony supports one in the process of forgiveness, compassion, and leniency, surrendering our judgments. Dispels feelings of inadequacy, encourages love and gentleness towards self and others. Take when man's inhumanity to life brings distress. Resonates with reverence for life and the spirit of peace, allowing a free-flowing state of grace.
Wow, more gifts from nature.
Can you think of any question you might have on that?
I just want to say that just more gifts from nature.
Yes.
Incredible things.
And one of the flowers I had in the knowing that I was to make it. It was wedding phlox. It's like the pink summer phlox, but it blooms earlier, and it's white, and it's called wedding phlox because it blooms in June, which is when there's a lot of weddings. So anyway, there's lots of little flowers on the same stem, and usually I ask in my mind, well, what am I going to do? How many flowers? And they will tell me whether to pick the whole stalk or 2 stalks. They'll tell me what to do. So anyway, on this occasion, it was so beautiful, I couldn't bring myself to pick it. So I literally fell down on my knees in front of this little plant and said, but you are so beautiful, I can't pick you. And in my mind came this gentle little voice saying, oh, but you must. If you don't, we will not have fulfilled our purpose. Oh, I know.
Oh. Yes, and gosh, you're into so many things. And one more we'll mention that you do. What is it called? Poly thing, a dance kind of a thing. Come on, help me.
Paneurythmy. Very good, Miss Janice.
Finally.
Paneurythmy. It's spelled P-A-N-E-U-R-Y-T-H-M-Y. eurythmy. Not to be confused with Rudolf Steiner's eurythmy, which people do confuse it all the time. Rudolf Steiner's eurythmy is danced in the evening and more as a sort of a performance. Paneurythmy is danced in the morning, and it's our celebration with nature. Paneurythmy really means divine cosmic rhythm, holy harmony of motion. And this picture is the spiritual master who gave us this. Beautiful. I call it dance because what else are you going to call it? And this spiritual teacher is called Peter Dernov. His spiritual name is Benso Dono. He's Bulgarian, but he's a master teacher. He was a violinist, a composer. He left us with a lot of exquisitely beautiful music. He composed the music for paneurythmy as well as the movements. And I call it, it's not a circle dance like the Sufis, but we do walk in a circle around the music. And in Bulgaria, they always have live musicians. We often have to make do with a CD. But you can do this by yourself, but it's designed to dance with a partner. There's a tiny little bit about this on my website, and there's a lot on the internet. And if you're anywhere near me and have any interest in learning, Janice will tell you how to get there.
We're going to have a slide at the end of this, and you'll see her information. The website again, which you will see on the slide too, is gardenofsananda.com. And other information to get to her will be on the slide. And I encourage you to go to her website. She's got articles and excerpts and things like cool things to read also. But I have a final question for you.
Oh, right.
One more. You said in your book, you described, that didn't totally completely describe, but that's why I'm asking you. You were meditating, and the dolphins and whales came into your mind, and they took you on a trip. And I understand this happened a number of times, an adventure underwater with them. Tell us about that.
Yeah, what we're talking about now is in this little book. Mm-hmm. And yes, in my mind, they would come and take me on underwater journeys, and I would be a dolphin. I would be a dolphin. And sometimes, sometimes I would just find myself in the water, surrounded by the dolphins. Other times, I would be somewhere and I would think, well, how am I going to get in the water with you? And on one occasion, I found I was sitting on a deck, on a pier. It was a little sort of old brown pier. It was kind of dark, and the water was dark, and the water looked murky, and the water looked cold. And the dolphins were down there expecting me to join them. And in my mind, I was thinking, yeah, but how am I going to do that? It's I'm sitting dangling my feet over the edge, so I can't dive in. And anyway, it looks cold, and I'm thinking all these things. And suddenly a dolphin jumps up beside me and pushes me in. And the next thing I know is I'm underwater, bubble, bubble, bubble. And that's it. Off we go.
Wow.
And they would take me on all these different journeys. And on one occasion, there I was in the water with them, and they said to the young dolphins, they said to the dolphin kids, they said, the grown-ups must have been busy, because they said to the kids, take her on a journey. So the kids took me to the ocean shore. I sort of imagined rather like Virginia Beach or somewhere. We could see all these people on the shoreline. And it was just overwhelming, the feeling of love I had for these people. All these poor little humans with all their worries and their cares and and they didn't know what to do, and they didn't know they were free. And so I just wanted to jump higher and swim faster and make them laugh and splash. And it was just such a wonderful feeling to lighten them and brighten them and see them waving at us.
Oh, you became a dolphin.
Yes.
Can you help us become a dolphin? Can you lead us in an adventure?
Yeah, we can do that.
Oh,
We can do that.
that's good.
Because and also if we sort of jump into it, it's because I've already asked the dolphins if they will do this for us.
Oh,
So
good.
I think they're ready.
Are they
I'm
ready?
ready. I think
Okay,
they're ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah. All right. Can we stop a minute?
Okay, please.
Okay. So I invite you to close your eyes. Focus on the heart area and a slow, steady, rhythmic breath. Imagine you are surrounded by the beautiful crystalline violet flame of transformation and purification, and the pink flame of divine love swirling in through and around you. Rhythmically breathing in and out. Feel yourself standing by the ocean in the moonlight. The moon is low on the horizon and casts a ribbon of dancing, shimmering golden light upon the water. Be aware of the little waves coming and going, touching, blessing your feet. Listen to their song. They are whispering. They are singing. Perhaps it is the ocean herself who is singing to you. Come to my shores and let me kiss your feet. Wiggle your toes deeper into the sand. And then look upward, look forward and out. Be aware of the quiet and the gentleness that surrounds you. Continue the rhythmic breathing. Suddenly, you see movement, far out to sea, little splashes. Your heart skips with joy. It is the dolphins, and they are heading towards you, leaping, jumping out of the water. They're coming to you. Silently, wordlessly, you hear and know. They are coming to take you with them on a journey, an adventure. Suddenly, you're in the water, and they are all around you, laughing, clicking, and squeaking. And you too are a dolphin. They delight in watching you marvel at your sleek flexibility, surging forward with a powerful thrust of your tail, making subtle turns with your fins, jumping high out of the water, admiring all your beautiful little white teeth. The baby dolphins are following you around as you practice being a dolphin, giggling. What's so funny, you ask them. You are, they say. Anybody can tell you're not a real dolphin. No real dolphin would go around admiring their teeth. The older dolphins hustle them away. Come, they say, and off you all go. Oh, it is so wonderful to be part of the pod, moving as one, speeding through the water with rhythmic, undulating, effortless motion. You are aware of the sand below you and a few small fish as you flow powerfully onward, rising and falling above and below the ocean's surface, ever in rhythm, ever in balance and harmony with each other and with the water. Soon you begin to notice a change in the frequency of the water. The sand has gone from sight, and it grows darker and deeper and stronger. It is still just as easy to swim through the quality of the water, but it has depth and power. Where are we going, you wonder? And you feel a change in the movement of the pod and sense a great vastness ahead of you. Something huge and commanding is before you. And the dolphins say, yes, it is the great whale. We have brought you to the great whale. In awe you gaze before you. This being is so vast. You are aware only of the I and an overwhelming feeling of love. You stare into this I and are drawn into the embrace of divine love, divine peace, and divine harmony, flowing in, through, and around you. You float in stillness, in silence, in bliss. Time passes through no time. And you become aware of a gentle but insistent voice saying, come back, come back, come back. You must return to the pod. Dreamily, slowly, your consciousness returns to the beautiful dolphin body. Gently, tenderly, the pod surrounds you, and the great whale disappears soundlessly and without movement from your sight. Lovingly and with reverence, the dolphins guide you homeward, giving you time and space to integrate your cosmic experience with the great whale. And you are aware only of the undulating rhythmic tempo of your motion drifting through the ocean. And time and space flow on until eventually you sense a quickening in the pod's pulse, an electric alertness within the group. Yes, they say, we have need of your help. And once again, you're speeding through the ocean depth on a mission. What can it be? Look down, say the dolphins. And there below you is a shipwreck. A massive derelict shipwreck, covered in seaweed and algae and crustaceans. The windows and doorways long gone. The dolphins swim you down into the hull, passing through ancient portals and corridors. And suddenly, you see sailors, desolate and hopeless. They are grouped in a corner. They do not know they are free, say the dolphins. They have been programmed to stay with the ship. You will help us release them. They do not always trust us, but they sense that you are one of their kind, and they will respond. And on the opposite side of the ship, you notice, there is a great and wondrous ladder leading upward to the light. This ladder shines with a pearly white and golden hue. The dolphins nod. It is for you to call to the sailors, to bring their attention to this great way out. You will awaken their interest and hope, and the dolphins will gently nudge them on. And so, call to them, these sailors. Tell them you have come to help. Tell them the time has come, that they are free to leave the ship and go home. And as you do, one by one, the sailors look your way. They follow your gaze. They see the golden ladder. And suddenly, they are all rushing towards it, climbing the rungs, smiling, laughing, delirious with joy. They climb up, 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 and away to the freedom they thought was lost. And once again, the pod gently assembles around you and quietly swims away, toward the flickering lights of a far distant shore. And there you are, back by the edge of the ocean, with the little wavelets kissing your toes, gazing out across the moonlit waters at a pod of dolphins passing by. Thank you, dolphins.
Thank you so much, Sananjaleen. By the way, she also is known as June, but we call her Sananjaleen. You know, after reading your books and listening to this today, and I will never again think the same way about animals and plants and nature. It's what people have said, that it's all is consciousness, all is love. You have proven to us today. And I'm so touched. I'm getting myself together. I'm so touched.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, we're going to show a slide. And what I think I'll do is put on a tape and go listen to some dolphin sounds.